Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching On Point with me. And in this special edition of On Point, we will discuss why Prime Minister Narendra Modi took on Naveen Patnaik. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took a jab at Naveen Patnaik and said Odisha needs a Chief Minister who understands Odia language and culture. For the first time, Prime Minister Narendra Modi took a potshot at Naveen Patnaik. Though they have been ex-allies, 15 years, and they couldn't come together, but then Prime Minister had maintained a sort of a workable, decent relationship with Naveen Babu. But this time around, in a rally, Prime Minister took on Naveen Patnaik. In an open attack, he said that Odisha needs a Chief Minister who understands, lives, and is proud of Odia culture and language, and only then can the problems of the state be solved quickly.
ओडिशा को भाजपा का पहला सीएम मिलेगा और ये भी लिख रही है सीएम कौन बनेगा? यहां का उड़ीसा का ही, उड़ीसा का बेटा या उड़ीसा की बेटी, वही सीएम बनेगा, कोई बाहर वाला नहीं बनेगा। जो उड़ीसा की मिट्टी, यहां की संस्कृति, उसको अपने सिर माथे पर लगाकर चलेगा, वही भाजपा अपना पहला सीएम बनाएगी। जो यहां की समस्या जानता है, जो यहां के समाधान जानता है, जो जनता से जुड़ा हो, भाजपा ऐसा सीएम देगी, ये मोदी की गारंटी है।
Prime Minister also stepped up his attack and added that Odisha is a very rich state in terms of resources, culture and heritage, and yet its people are poor. He blamed the Congress and the BJD government for the condition of the state. Prime Minister Modi also claimed that the Odisha hasn't benefited from the Ayushman Bharat Yojana as the BJD government didn't implement the policy in the state properly. Prime Minister added that the centre gives funds to the state for various schemes, but the BJD government either doesn't implement the scheme or pilfers the fund.
ओडिशा में पहले करीब 50 साल कांग्रेस और फिर 25 साल से बीजेडी सरकार रही है, लेकिन हुआ क्या? ओडिशा के पास भरपूर पानी भी है, ओडिशा के पास भरपूर उपजाऊ जमीन भी है, उड़ीसा के पास जमीन के नीचे खनिज का खजाना भी है, इतना लंबा समुद्री तट भी है, बहरामपुर जैसा ट्रेड सेंटर भी है, ये तो सिल्क सिटी भी है और खाद्य की राजधानी भी है, यहां इतिहास भी है, संस्कृति की धरोहर भी है, सब कुछ है। परमात्मा ने इतना दिया है, इतना दिया है। मैं हर बार कहता हूं, फिर ऐसा क्या हुआ कि इतने अमीर ओडिशा की, मेरी बात समझना, इतने अमीर ओडिशा की जनता गरीब रह गई। ओडिशा अमीर है, जनता गरीब है, इसका जवाब है, ये पाप किसने किया? ये पाप किसने किया? ये पाप किसने किया? इसका जवाब है, पहले कांग्रेस और फिर बीजेडी के नेताओं की लूट।
I'm joined by Jayant Bhattacharya, senior journalist, and Ajit K. Jha, political analyst, psephologist, senior journalist, someone who understands the world and the power of research. Let me go across to Ajit first and then to Jayant. First time the gloves are off in Odisha. And the Pandian, Mr. V.K. Pandian, is in the eye of storm. Why has Prime Minister shifted the gears?
Two reasons basically. One, I think because if you look at how the BJP has performed in 2019 in the Lok Sabha compared to 2014 when it had just won one seat, in 2019 they won 8 seats, right? So that kind of out of 21, which is a massive increase. So now they are eyeing almost like 14, 15 seats in Odisha. And if you remember, just a month ago, they were trying, the BJP and BJD was trying an alliance in the state, which did not work out at the last moment. At that time, the BJP had asked for 14 Lok Sabha seats, and they were ready to concede the assembly to the BJD. But somehow the talks did not take place, and both sides kind of pulled back. And now you find the attack has begun by the Prime Minister, earlier by Amit Shah. Now, the thing is, you see, there is a fierce anti-incumbency against Naveen Patnaik because he has been in power for almost a quarter century, number one. And number two, what you pointed out, Pandian and the former Chief Secretary Balakrishnan, they run the state, right? Both are from Tamil Nadu. So there's a lot of resentment among Odiyas in general. So I have a feeling that in the Lok Sabha, the BJP will actually do better than 2019, especially if the turnout levels are high. Odisha in 2019 had almost 73% turnout.
Okay.
Watch out for the turnout. But in the assembly, I think, again, Naveen Patnaik will perhaps return, although with a reduced majority.
You know, Odisha is the first state which was carved out on the linguistic basis. And it was before independence. So the history of Odia, Asmita, is pretty old. 1936 it happened. Jayanto, is BJP right in playing that Odia Asmita card in context of a former bureaucrat who has turned out to be the inheritor of the Patnaik legacy? Can it be a double-edged sword?
That is indeed a point, Kartikeya. That is what is being talked about. If you see for some time now, since actually he became the, joined the CMO, that is the Chief Minister's office, he was the private secretary to the CM also. Since that time, if you see the way that he has risen up the ranks, it's quite phenomenal. And in fact, considering that he's from Tamil Nadu, whether his acceptance is there or not, that is not the basic point. The basic point is that here is a chief minister who has kind of lent him a hand to rise up the stairs so fast and so soon. But considering this multi-pronged, multi-barrel, multi-issue attack that is happening, to some extent, Kartikeya, this perhaps reflect the shifting of sands through time. For the last 15 years or so, there have been never any talks about the two returning back to the fold. What I mean is that since he had walked out, BJD, that is Naveen Patnaik had walked out of the NDA, there had never been talks as strong as it happened this time during the Rajya Sabha election. When Ashwini Vaishnav was a BJP candidate from Odisha, that time the BJP had lent a hand of support. So there were lots of talks about the two coming together, followed by there were many meetings also happened. And the person that you just mentioned was a part of some of these very, what we can say, high-level meetings. And in fact, some people tell me that there was a time that Naveen Patnaik himself, you have seen for the last more than a decade and a half, rather a decade and a half, he had been maintaining a kind of a equidistant from both the UPA and the NDA. Though we have seen here in Parliament, there have been times when he has lent his support to the BJP on several occasions. But in the state, he has a very clear kind of a message which is not written, but it is apparent that you let me rule my state, let me be here, and you rule center. He has never shown any kind of an inclination which has come from a few other regional party heads about the seat in Delhi. But he has not really that way come out that he wants to be here in Delhi. But here, it's a very clear message that has been given. And just one more thing I will add. If you listen to the Prime Minister, there is a mention of the Congress and the BJD in the same speech, in the same breath. And this is what is being talked about on the grounds also, especially in respect of Bhubaneswar and Sambalpur, where people are saying that such a candidate have been chosen against the BJP candidate, in fact, one of whom is a minister, that they have some problem in getting into the parliament. Not that it will really be a big threat, but there on the field, on the ground itself, that these three threats are looming. That shows that there are talks about the Congress and the BJP in the same breath. So what people I know in Odisha are telling me that this fight is likely to escalate and not die down.
Okay. You know, it's like a position, but Bharatiya Janata Party never positioned themselves like when Jayalalitha was in power. They never positioned themselves when ADMK was shaking from inside. They were standing from outside. They were not attacking them because they wanted to be a partner. But in this case, Bharatiya Janata Party has taken a long stride and said that we will be the party inheriting the idea of Odia Asmita. Now, Prime Minister said that the days of the BJD government in Odisha are numbered and June 4th will be the expiry date of the Patnaik government in the state. Prime Minister Modi also added that the Odisha will have a double-engine government soon.
और लिख लीजिए 4 जून पर यहां बीजेडी सरकार की एक्सपायरी डेट लिखी हुई है। 4 जून बीजेडी की एक्सपायरी डेट लिखी हुई है, मान लीजिए। भाइयों बहनों, आज 7 मई है, 6 मई है, आज 6 मई है। 6 जून को बीजेपी के मुख्यमंत्री पद का उम्मीदवार तय होगा। 10 जून को भुवनेश्वर में बीजेपी के मुख्यमंत्री का शपथ समारोह होगा। और मैं आज आप सबको भाजपा के सरकार के मुख्यमंत्री के शपथ समारोह के लिए निमंत्रण देने आया हूं।
But I don't think Naveen Patnaik would have allowed this to go. He responded to the attack and said the BJP is daydreaming about forming the government in Odisha.
बहुत दिन हैला बीजेपी दिन रे स्वप्न देखिछंती। बहुत दिन हैला बीजेपी दिन रे स्वप्न देखिछंती। बहुत दिन हैला बीजेपी दिन रे स्वप्न देखिछंती।
So, Ajit, the gloves are off. Naveen Babu is saying, you are daydreaming. The gloves are off. He has responded.
Yes, absolutely. Naveen Patnaik would like to continue for another 5 years. But let me tell you something. He'll probably return back. But Naveen Babu is also relying very heavily on these bureaucrats, especially we have already named the person, Pandian. And the other thing is that he himself is not very well. In the past, he has been rather ill. And he's barely able to talk. Where, in fact, today he went out on a trip, and there he barely spoke. He, of course, doesn't speak Odia, which we very well know, but he hasn't been very well. He's 77 years old. So there is this feeling that Odisha wants change, but I don't see the change coming very soon in this election. But in the long term, I think the BJP is just surging in Odisha. And
Prime
given
Minister
the
is so
fact
slow
that
to get into this groove, let me play out the pictures first. This is for the audience. It's not as if, BJP was not trying to woo Naveen Patnaik. Let me play those pictures out for you. It will show you the sort of bonhomie which, BJP was trying to create. It's not as if that this was a decision they had taken. It was something that they have decided now. They have not attacked each other. They have been divorced with each other for 15 years, but there was sort of a respect the leaders displayed. But today, in his speech, Prime Minister has drawn a line from which it will be difficult from them to come to a position of some sort of an understanding. That's not going to be there, Ajit.
I agree. But at the same time, the fierceness with which Prime Minister attacks India alliance governments, there is a shift. I mean, as you rightly pointed out, there was a bonhomie at least 1 month before the elections. And at the same time, for the last 10, 15 years, although BJD is outside NDA, but it had supported BJP in almost each and every crisis situation, whether it was the election of the president, in Rajya Sabha, election of vice president, all the time the BJD had supported BJP. So this bonhomie continued. Of course, this is election season. We call it silly season, right? So in that, they have to attack each other. And given the fact that the BJP is gunning for non-Hindi heartland states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Bengal, that is the aim of BJP in order to fulfill the Prime Minister's ambition of 370 seats. So I think, therefore, you find a certain aggression. But at the same time, tomorrow, once the elections are over, I have a feeling that the BJD and BJP will work in a sort of informal alliance with each other. It's not the same as Prime Minister's attack, let's say, in the other states.
I'm playing this data on the right-hand side of the screen, Ajit. There is a substantial jump. In 2014, if you look at the data, let me play out the data of 2009, 2014 and 2019. It's the 3 data I'm playing, and it shows us the way Bharatiya Janata Party has grown. This is 2009. So 16.9% BJP, BJD 37.2 and Congress is 32.7. Now this is 2009. Let's go to 2014 and you'll find that the BJD has gone to 44.8, BJP 21.9 and Congress goes down to 26.4. But in 2019 a dramatic shifts happened and it is 43 for BJD, 38 which is roughly 39 for BJP and Congress is down to 14%. Now the difference between both of them is only 4.5. Jayanto, do you think that in this Lok Sabha election they can breach 43? Can they breach that 43?
Kartikeya, very frankly, I would go by the number of seats rather than a vote percentage, because in many instances it has happened that the vote percentage has not really reflected in the number of seats. But if you take the entire, what you are showing, in fact, I was about to mention that also, that the BJP actually knows that it would have needed the BJD in Odisha to go ahead for that point where they are thinking about 370 seats by themselves. Before I I answer your question, there is one more point that I want to raise, that regarding this extra seats, if we can say about it that way, it is coming from this 170 seats that I always keep on saying, starting from the east coast of India. That is starting right from West Bengal. If you go down to the south, you cross the southern part and you go towards the west right up to Maharashtra, before Maharashtra, and I include Karnataka in that. That is about 170 seats. That is where lies the target for the BJP to achieve that number that they are talking about. So Odisha very much makes a sense. Now, coming back to what I was saying, as you rightly were pointing out, these data shows that when the BJP in the 1990 and 2000 elections, that is the Assembly and the Lok Sabha elections earlier, they did very well, 68 seats. But that has come down to, came down to when they went alone, that came down to 6 in the Assembly. So they know that they need a kind of a platform there to go ahead to achieve that target that they are talking of. And here, if you see this multi-pronged attack that I was talking about Lord Jagannath, talking about Odisha, that is the language, Odisha. Even he has said that he will write letters in Odia, which was kind of a kind of an attack on the Chief Minister once again. These all point to one thing, that he is talking about, Asmita, as you rightly said, about Odisha over there and about that pride. But here, let me tell you where all these are coming from. We all know that Biju Babu, that is father of Naveen Patnaik, he was a very tall figure. Not only physically that he was very tall, even politically he was very tall. He was a very adventurous person. You know about his exploits, how he went to Indonesia and how he got the freedom fighters, as they called them. They were fighting against the Dutch. They got them back in a plane that he was himself. He was a very keen aviator. He was part of the Air Force also earlier. He took a plane, a Dakota, on when he was told by the Prime Minister, that time Jawaharlal Nehru. He flew there and flew them out back to India. And he has done this on several other occasions. He's a very tall figure. He has been very important in the political history. He has, as Odias would say, not been recognized because till now, the government, whoever was in the government at the center, ever given him a Bharat Ratna. That again, Pandian has raised that issue once again. There lies a very big grudge of Odia, whether it is a politician or it is a local people. I talk to people over there. They always have held it there, whether they talk about it, they do not, but it is there inside them about this kind of recognition that they feel has not been awarded to the leader that they really admire and revere in not only Odisha, in other places also. So all these things together, they have been building up since the past few years, and especially, you know, the reason that the BJD walked out of the NDA. So right at this point of time, we have to wait and see what happens after the results announced. It is not only in, but what will be the political equation in the future.
Okay. Ajit, you know, it's time to, wind up the show. But one thing I want to ask you is that after Jayalalitha, ADMK could not take the pressure. It's not the ADMK. DMK reigns supreme. Do you think that there can be a post-Naveen BJD? Can Pandian take that mantle? Naveen Babu is like he is one of the tallest regional leaders.
The towering figure that...
Yes, he is a towering figure.
In fact, he personifies BJD, as you rightly pointed out. Now, what is likely to happen after Naveen Patnaik? Most likely that the BJD might break apart, because there is intense factionalism in BJD, which one witnessed during this election. And quite a number of the BJD leaders in the past as well, but especially recently, have switched sides. So there is likelihood the party might break, especially if Pandian keeps running it. Obviously, the Odia Asmita feeling, anti-Pandian feeling, is likely to surface after Naveen Babu. And if Pandian continues to control the party is likely to split. And one faction might go and join with the BJP in the future. And because the BJP is surging in the state, totally has replaced Congress in the last 5 years. So there in the future, you might see a government led by BJP with a faction of the BJD. That, I feel, is the most likely scenario, although this is pure speculation at this moment.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you, both of you, for joining me on my show. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has drawn the battle lines. Thank you, Jayanto. Thank you, Ajit. Has actually drawn the battle lines when it comes to Odisha. The courtesy, the Shistachar is all gone. And the fight is on the Odia pride. The issue is the person who is the political inheritor is Mr. Pandian, 2000 batch IS officer from Tamil Nadu. He retired from the services and is actually helming the state. Naveen Babu is one of the tallest, towering political personality in India. But then, in this succession plan, Bharatiya Janata Party is talking about the person, the Odia pride. Now, whether it pays dividend, whether it becomes an issue is a different thing. But then the stone has been thrown. It will create ripples and it will have its own impact. It will have its own life. One will have to wait and see what sort of results will Bharatiya Janata Party get in this election, or the results of Vidhan Sabha will be different from that of Lok Sabha. So this was on point number 1. But the on point number 2 is Congress General Secretary in charge for communication, Jairam Ramesh, spoke exclusively to News 9 about Congress's agenda to save constitution, promise of caste census, and how the party plans to overcome their organizational challenges. He spoke to me on multiple issues.
India produces between 1,500 and 2,000 films every year, the highest for any country. But they get ignored at international awards.
The Oscars are basically